Yes, we're back so quickly, time flies. But today is a very, very special day for me. A day when I am interviewing two giants. Yes, two giants in Africa. So you bear with us, but I can tell you that you are going to enjoy every minute of this conversation. Yeah. So I hope you all got something to drink quickly or a quick snack or something. Yes, I appreciate your support. Oh, Nikki Ebony is back. Wow. These are die hard. Wow. Ayọ̀bámi Olúnlọ́yọ̀. Báwo ni ọmọ bàbá mi? Ṣé dáadáa ló wà? How is London? How is your family? People are already asking me about Saturday. I said yes, it has become Saturday medicine. Like diaprim in those days, Sunday medicine. So people want to tap into daddy's knowledge. Uncommon knowledge. It's not just ordinary knowledge. So here we are. I'm expecting the man with a bucket full of brains and ideas to join us. You know, we all call him Bucket. He attended our Great Ife. And so, yes, if you see Dr. AJIBADE SAN, please alert me. I'm looking for him. I expect him to join us. I just spoke to him 2 minutes ago, so he's ready for us. If Dr. AJIBADE is hearing me, he should please just make a request to join this conversation, and I will let him straight in. I don't think we've done anything like this since we started this program, but it tells you how much privileged we are tonight to have these African giants speak to us. Dr. AJIBADE, please, if you can hear me, all you need is to press invite me to conversation and we will invite you in immediately. I can see my wife online. This is Ojoro. Because your friend is on. Last night it was your friend and tonight again your friend. So now I want to know where you are going to stand. And now you told me that Dr. AJIBADE grew up in Felele, Ibadan with you and your family. So I can see you tonight. Yes, Mrs. Mobolaji, Momodu, Omarowo Shubo, Obeshokoto Berry. And let me give you your full Oriki. Wow. Yes, we are waiting for... Can anybody... Let me see. I'm not seeing him yet. Yes, his handle is BAJIBADE SAN. BAJIBADE SAN. Okay, I've seen him now. Fantastic. Dr. Ajibade SAN. How are you tonight? Internet, internet. I pray this. The bucket himself. I say bucket of brains. That brain is full of, full of books. And good evening. How are you? How are you? How are you? It's good to see you. I know you've been busy all day. That's why we're doing this very late. But your internet, is it possible to have to be in a place in your house very close to ventilation so you can have better signals? I think your signals, in big men live in very thick walls. So the internet is not looking very good at the moment. Is there any way you can move around the house? He's smiling at me. Wait, this man for a lot of Doctor, so I'm happy to have you, but the internet now is the problem. Or do you have any other telephone line you could use, please? It seems the internet is proving stubborn. We had a similar problem last night. Doctor, is there any way we can change to a different handset or a different network? Doctor, if you are hearing me, if we can change to a different network, this is definitely not working. Yeah, internet is the issue, not just in Nigeria, everywhere. I watch, Instagram live all over the world. So even in America, I had to get. Hello, are you able to change the internet, please? Maybe you get hotspot from another line. Yes, we once had a guest from the US on this same program who told me, oh, I'm on 5G. 5G disappointed us that day. Wow, wow, wow. Doctor, is it possible to get another network? I don't know if you're hearing me. I can't hear anything. Okay, it's left now, so it would have to rejoin us as quickly as possible. People are playing politics on this platform tonight. You know me, I'm just a reporter. Now we are in the middle of it. Olumide and I live in the same building. Meanwhile, Bucket has been my brother from school and has been a childhood friend of my wife. Is this not trouble? Oh my God. But the most important thing is that these are great guys. These are very, very great Nigerians. I wish Nigerian politicians could be of this quality. These are fantastic, fantastic people. And they must play their politics beyond just the bar association. They should play national politics at some point. May God help them. So we're just waiting now for Dr. Ajibade probably to change his network, hopefully to a better network, and then we can roll. We have plenty of questions to ask him. I hope some of you who joined Mr. Kimbelo Sage, I hope you enjoyed that session. For me, that was powerful. That was very powerful. So, okay, doctor is back here. I pray we get it right this time. Okay, I think this looks better.
You know, as somebody said to me the other day, he says with this internet now, with COVID-19, it's like we have with the phones. So I was on fiber one. That one failed me. Now I've had to switch to SpectraNet. Let's hope that one doesn't fail me too.
If you see, I carry all of them. If you see here,
oh, yeah.
fails, I go to this, I go to that. And I'm using one. And then
Terrible.
I have all kinds of things in the house. It's incredible.
Gadgets.
Well, it's good. Finally, you are looking as fresh, as young as ever.
Trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Oh wow. Well, the good thing is that no one looking at you could ever imagine your towering achievements. And I must congratulate you that you've made us very proud. When we say Ife is great and greatest, you've told the world that it is very valid. That sentiment is very valid. On this note, I welcome you on my program. And we have a lot of questions for you, but we'll take it one at a time. Feel free, we have all the time in the world, unless you fall asleep. Then, we're there for you.
No problem.
The protocol is for you to take time to give us a bit of your biography. So let's know about your background right from birth. You were born in Ibadan, Abi?
That's correct.
Your sister Bolaji, Momodu, is watching you. She's so excited on this program.
Wonderful, wonderful.
She was talking about Felele. I said, don't worry, we know Felele. Yes.
That's somebody who knows. That's somebody who knows me from the cradle.
From the cradle, I know. Okay, so let's shoot.
So, my name is Babatunde Ajibade. As Bob D has said, I was born in Ibadan 52 years ago. I grew up in Felele. I have very fond memories of Felele. I remember riding my bicycle all over the entire area, all to Scout Camp, to the expressway when it was being built. Those are the good old days when there were no kidnappers and society was a lot safer than it is today. I went to primary school in Felele. I went to, nursery school, Ebire Nursery School. And then I went to All Saints Primary School. I went to International School Ibadan for my secondary school up to O levels. And then I went to Federal Government College Odogbolu for 1 year for lower sixth. And from there to the great University of Ife, where I met Bob D, amongst many other great ECMOs. I was in Ife from 1984 to 1988. I finished in 88 and went straight to the law school. I was in law school I was called to the bar in 1989, December. And immediately after that, I went to the UK for a master's in corporate and commercial law. I did an LLM in corporate and commercial law at King's College, University of London. I came back to Nigeria immediately after that, and I did my youth service with Bentley Edu and Co. And then my father is a lawyer. So after my stint with Bentley Edu and Co, I went to join the firm, the family firm, as it was then. And I worked with him for about 6 months. And I went back to the UK and started a PhD. And I did a PhD in private international law, also at King's College, University of London. Came back to Nigeria immediately after I finished in 1996. And I've been practicing law ever since. I'm a commercial litigator. I'm also a transactional lawyer. I have significant transactional experience under my belt. I'm also an arbitrator. I was elevated to the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria in 2007. I was the first member of my class, 1989 class of the law school, to be so elevated. So my colleagues and friends in the class of 89, they call me Ashiwaju. even though I don't have any chieftaincy title. And that's about it. I am extremely passionate about the legal profession. It's a profession that has done so much for me. And it's a profession that I owe a lot to, and that I would like to see retain its pride of place as the pride of professions in Nigeria.
Well, before we go into the technical details of your mission and ambition, let's go back to those childhood days, the formative years. Could you tell us the experiences that helped shape the story of your life today?
It's an interesting one. I think one experience that, one of the primary experiences that helped shape the story of my life really was a clear respect for the benefits of hard work. I learned that from my father, because he was never a slacker, and he didn't really encourage slacking in any way. My father was a strict, still around. He's 85 this year. Was 85 in December. Still a strict disciplinarian. Not only was, but still is. And I think that definitely stood me in good stead. For those who know me very well, I wasn't. Mine is a story of grace, really. I'm sure even Bob D will attest to the fact that the Tunde he knew in Ife didn't quite show the promise of latter years. So I owe a lot to the grace of God. And I owe a lot to my father, because were he not the disciplinarian that he was, and had he not kept a strong grip of me, I think my story might very well have been completely different. And I think I benefited from that discipline. The fact that he did not allow me, despite all my best efforts, he did not allow me to go off the rails.
Okay, you in your days, most people went to school in Nigeria, unlike today, when most people, even if you're going to go to school in Nigeria, you are looking for one private university or the other. What were the subjects that you did, that you enjoyed, and how did you perform in it? So that those watching you now and say, okay, I want to be a lawyer like Dr. Ajibade in the future. So what are the things I need to do? What are the steps I need to follow? Because your story is phenomenal.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess when I was in secondary school, and I think it's still the same now, at a midway through secondary school, you have to decide what direction you're headed, whether you're headed towards the arts or whether you're headed towards the sciences. One thing I recollect is that in my first 2 years in secondary school, I was sufficiently smart to have gone either way. And then midway through secondary school, as is often the case, I started derailing. So the young man who had been an extremely smart student in Form 1 and Form 2, by the time I got to Form 3 and Form 4, I picked up quite a few not so pleasant habits, and my educational performance had dropped significantly. But by the time I got to Form 5, when I was going to sit for my O levels, there were a few incidents that were life-changing that occurred, that caused me to retrace my steps, so to speak. And to the surprise of everybody in the school, including myself, I came out with, I had an A1 in maths, I had an A1 in English, and then I had four credits, I believe. So enough really to get me through to A levels. Because of the incident that occurred, which I would rather not divulge, but because of the incident that occurred that led to this change, I actually missed out on doing JAM, because a lot of my colleagues did JAM in Form 5 and went on to university from there. But I missed out on doing JAM. So that's how I ended up going for A levels at Odogbolu. So I did 1 year of A levels and then did JAM and got into university. So in terms of subjects, I think you have to decide at a reasonably early stage what direction you want to go to. I've always been of the view that anybody who is of above average intelligence can really excel at whatever they decide to set their minds to. So it's really deciding and being focused on what exactly you want to do. And just earlier today I was being asked the question, being the last of 4 children, and with my father being a lawyer, none of my siblings studied law. Did my father put me under pressure to study law? If he did, he was very clever about it, because I can't remember him ever telling me, I want you to be a lawyer. But somehow it crept up on me. I know he used to take me to his office with him. So I suppose being in that environment, in my subconscious, the idea of being a lawyer would have grown in that way. Being the last, because by then my siblings had left. Either they were in boarding school. I was the last one at home. So I sort of imbibed the idea of being a lawyer somewhere along the line. And it's worked for me. It's worked for us. And again, that is actually one other aspect of my life story that I think is quite important, because I know many friends who had a similar story, as in had parents who were lawyers. But let me not say many, but I know a few who were not able to sustain a relationship with their parent who was a lawyer. I think my father and I were quite blessed in that way. I think we're both still pleasantly surprised that we've been able to not only sustain, but build and improve on what started out as a very stormy relationship, which is now a very, very cordial and warm relationship with mutual respect.
Well, let's talk about your fond memories of Ife, where we knew you, and you were extremely popular. So what would be your sweet?
I still say that those were the best 4 years so far of my life. Ife was and for me still remains a magical place. There's something about that campus that is that you just can't beat it. I can't beat it. I really enjoyed my time in Ife, and I think it was probably because, unlike our colleagues or friends who went to universities that were in cities, so those who went to Unilag, UI, Uniben, because they were in cities, there was a lot of life outside the campus. But Ife is really a university town. So everything was concentrated on the campus. And there was more than enough activity, more than enough fun. Ife was fun. I had a great time in Ife. I thank God that I came out with a degree, because many didn't.
My bad boys, they did it.
It was that much fun.
Yes, I was very close to your faculty. Having my best friend Amola Dele in your faculty, To some of those great teachers in Ife, the
Oh
lecturers,
yes, Rose
who
Dele.
is and
Taught me contract law of contract.
yes, wow. And then, so going abroad, what did you work on for your masters and then your PhD?
So for the master's program, which is quite interesting because I still think about it now. The shock I had when, and this was way back in 1989. So it's probably even more elaborate now. I was amazed. The University of London had an intercollegiate LLM program. So even though I was at King's, when you did the masters, you actually were in classes with people from LSE, UCL, Queen Mary. It was an intercollegiate postgraduate program. And what I found amazing was the sheer variety of courses that were available. I mean, it was a problem choosing, because for the masters you could only do 4 subjects, and if I remember correctly, we had about 108 to choose from Islamic law to space law to aviation law, just a very, very broad range. And you could do a general master's, or you could do a specialized master's. To do a specialized master's meant that you picked subjects that were grouped together. So I did a specialized master's, which was corporate and commercial law, because I did subjects that were grouped together under corporate and commercial. I did company law, carriage of goods by sea, international business transactions 1 and international business transactions 2. Which is 2 sides of private international law, really. And that's why I picked up interest in private international law, which I subsequently did at the PhD, because I'd never done it. I didn't do it at first degree level, but I did 2 private international law modules on the LLM. And it's, when we talk today about the depth or lack of it of the educational system, and what we would like our young lawyers, our young colleagues to learn. I really think that back then, maybe having a master's was a luxury, but with where things are today in the world, I think it's almost becoming a necessity, because the volume of law that is out there is so phenomenal that you need something beyond the first degree to be able to really become an expert in some area of the law or the other, in order to have at least some form of specialization. So if obviously it's subject to opportunity being there, but if the opportunity is there, I definitely would recommend to anybody that in today's legal world, going beyond the first degree is definitely advisable.
Do you think solicitors are more at a disadvantage in Nigeria than those who engage in litigations?
Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, again, I think it's quite sad that we don't have the statistics, because it depends on how you measure advantage. If you measure it in terms of value, I definitely don't think solicitors are at a disadvantage, because I think solicitors are likely, we don't have the statistics, but I suspect the statistics will show that solicitors, in terms of the value of the work that they do and what they generate, that they earn more than litigators, even though litigators are much more in number.
Yeah, what I mean is in terms of if, for example, you now you are a senior advocate of Nigeria, you seem to have more on the other side than on your side. Do you have any statistics to confirm that? The impression I
When you
get
say more,
is
when you
that
say more on the other side, you mean more
yeah,
who are
who are
solicitors, or more who are?
yeah, more litigators who are senior advocates than the solicitors?
Oh yeah, no. Well, it's not just that there are more. For now, anyway, solicitors are not appointed as senior advocates, so that opportunity is not even open to them.
Oh,
It is something that I personally would like to see change, and I've discussed it with quite a few of the very distinguished solicitors that I know. That I feel a certain degree of discomfort um, when I see people like Benga Oyebode, people like Asue Godalo, people like George Itomi, people like Chief Chris Ogunbanjo, people like Senator Odujiri, who have contributed significantly to the legal profession and who can't be granted or given that title or that recognition that I believe that they deserve, just because the rank of senior advocate is limited to advocates. And what makes it even more difficult for me, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of rationalization, is that if the rank of senior advocate was limited just to advocates, then maybe one would say that, well, we're just being true to the terminology. But then the rank is also given to academics,
yeah, I was going
who are not advocates. Yeah, so I really don't see the justification for limiting it to academics and advocates. But then it's a statutory provision, so it's not out of choice. Those who enacted the legislation in their wisdom, because these are provisions of the Legal Practitioners Act. In their wisdom, they made provision for advocates and academics to be appointed as senior advocates, but didn't make any provision for solicitors. It's something that I personally would like to see change.
Fantastic. So, also, could you tell us what you did right that made you the Asiwaju in your career?
Bob D, my story really is a story of grace. I cannot when I look at my life's journey so far, I see the hand of God all over it. So, I mean, before I'd come back to Nigeria, I can't remember when exactly the ambition to become a senior advocate crystallized, but I know that it was definitely before I came back to Nigeria in 1996. And I was extremely fortunate because what you require to be a senior advocate was something that I really was handed over to me on a platter of gold. So, I mean, you need cases. Now, luckily for me, our firm at the time and up till now had a reasonably busy litigation practice. And more so then than now, we had a thriving insurance practice. And with insurance litigation then, it actually just gave me everything I needed to become a senior advocate, because for the benefit of those who are trying to go to do the same thing, one of the things you need is exposure, because as I keep saying to people who discuss this with me, one of the worst things in wanting to become a senior advocate is for your name to come up, especially amongst our justices, and they say, oh, who is he? We don't know him. It's better your name comes out and say, oh, that terrible boy, a terrible boy. And there's a discussion about whether you're a good person or a bad person, than for them to say, well, we don't know you. Because if they don't know you, then you're not even, you're not going to be, there's not going to be any discussion. Yeah. So one of the benefits one of the advantages that I had was that because we had such a wide-ranging insurance practice, I was in the first 4 years after I came back, from 1996 to about 2000, and even beyond, I was all over the country. I remember my cousin Wale Ajibade, who lives in Abuja. Many a time I'd turn up at his place, coming from Benin on my way to Kaduna, and then from Kaduna I'm going to Ilori. And he used to make fun of me and say, "My friend, are you sure you're a lawyer or a transporter? Because all this was by road." I said, "No, this is just that's just the job." And I enjoyed what I was doing. So I was, in the Court of Appeal in Kaduna, from Kaduna to Ilorin, from Ilorin to Oyo, from Oyo to Ibadan. I was all over the place, and that helped because the name recognition was there. So if my name came up, with the justices, at least quite a few of them would say, "Oh yes, he's appeared before me before. I know him. He's a nice young man." So that the fact that those cases were there, ready to be handled, clearly helped me tremendously. The fact that I was prepared to do the work, of course, also helped. I wasn't. I knew what it took, and I did what needed to be done, which was basically get on the road, cover the ground, and do the work, build up the cases, and then apply, which is exactly what I did. But then, like I say, which is why I talk about grace. There's so many other people who would have gone through the same route. But, without the grace of God, it's not because you tried, it's not because you made an effort that you succeed. It's because God blesses your effort. And God blessed my effort, and I succeeded.
Wow. Now, it's going into politics of sorts, because being the president of NBA is like a political move. What has been your relationship with NBA before now, if any?
Oh, my relationship with NBA has been long-standing. People ask me that, and I guess because I wasn't, everything I did for or with NBA over the years was not with a view to what I'm doing now. Perhaps if it had been with a view to what I'm doing now, I would have made a lot more noise about it. But my contribution to the NBA over the years has been quiet and selfless. I've attended most NBA conferences over the years. I've delivered numerous papers at NBA conferences over the years. I've hosted, sponsored NBA events over the years. I'm a founding member of the SBL, the Section on Business Law of the NBA. I sat on its council for 4 years. I was vice chairman of its banking and insolvency committee for 4 or 5 years. I currently chair the panel B of the NBA's disciplinary committee for Lagos. I currently chair the Judiciary Relations Committee of the NBA Lagos branch. I chaired the Conference Planning Committee for the SPL conference that held in Abuja in 2016. I chaired the Conference Planning Committee for the Lagos NBA Law Week that took place in 2014. I've been a member of the NBA NEC for 4 years now. So I think I have, I've practiced, I've been active in the NBA, and before I moved to Lagos, because our firm is based in Ibadan, or started off in Ibadan. When I came back in 1996, I was practicing in Ibadan, and then I set up the office in Lagos in 1998, and grew it to what it is now. It's now the tail wagging the dog, because the Lagos office is now the center of operations, and we now have an office in Abuja as well. But So my MBA activity started with the Ibadan branch. But after a couple of years of being in Lagos, I remember attending a meeting of the Lagos branch of the MBA. And when I was asked to introduce myself, I said that I'm Dr. Babatunde Ajibade, and I'm a member of both the Ibadan and Lagos branches of the MBA. And of course, my big sister, Mrs. Funke Adekoya, kicked and said, you can't be both. You have to choose one. So it was at that point that I switched and decided that, well, I'm now based in Lagos. So reluctantly, I had to disengage from the Ibadan branch and pitch my tent with Lagos.
Fantastic. Now, a friend of mine, Mr. Chief Kayode Ajulo, wrote an article, I'm sure you probably saw it yesterday, advising you and Olumide Akpata to wait a bit to mature. I don't know what he meant by that you need more maturity before you can take
like good wine.
Yeah, so you become vintage, then you can become the president of the Nigerian Bar Association. So do you agree with his views and his suggestions that maybe both of you should step down for a bigger person?
Well, obviously, if I agreed with his suggestion, I wouldn't be running. So it goes without saying that for the fact that I'm running, I don't agree with his suggestion. But, I think it raises an even more significant question for me. I'm not running. Bobby, you said that I'm stepping into politics. I can assure you, I'm not a politician. As a matter of fact, one of my mentors, one of my most valued clients, when he heard that I decided to run for president of the NBA, that was exactly what he told me. Tunde, are you sure you can do this thing? You're not a politician. You're too blunt. You're too direct for all the shenanigans that's required. So just to put it in context, I'm not running for this office out of personal ambition. I'm running for this office because I'm extremely concerned about the profession. As I said already, I'm extremely passionate about the profession. And I've manifested this in quite a few ways over the years. But perhaps most significantly, and I'm extremely proud of it, in the last 12 years, our firm, under my leadership, has been hosting an annual business luncheon every year. And each of those business luncheons has dealt with one aspect or the other of problems that we see with the profession. The reason why I'm running is because I don't see those problems that we've been dealing with, that we've been talking about. I don't see them going away. And people have said to me that, look, yes, obviously you're concerned about the profession. You've been hosting these annual business luncheons. You talk about judicial excellence. You talk about delays in the administration of justice. You talk about separating the administration of the courts from the administration of justice. You talk about discipline in the profession. I can reel out all if I remember all the themes of the various business luncheons we've had. That these things are not going to self-execute. They're not going to self-implement. So if you're really that concerned about the profession, and if you think that these problems that you've highlighted and the solutions that the people that you invite to these business luncheons prefer, if you think that they need solving, why don't you put yourself forward and go and try to solve them? And that is the reason why I'm running. Now, for someone to say, and I've heard it said, that no, you should go and take your turn. You're still young. Go and join the queue. If I wanted to be NBA president out of personal ambition, then, you know, definitely. Now it's okay, you know, at your time, when is your turn? You know, you join the queue, when is your turn, we'll usher you in. But I'm talking about, I feel that, I personally feel that our profession is in crisis at the moment. You know, it hasn't quite broken down yet, but we're not far from it. And I think that, you know, this is a time when, rather than just talking about the problems, people who feel that they have solutions should step up and try to implement those solutions. So it's in that context that I think anybody who says, go and wait your turn, actually misses the point. For me, this is not a turn-by-turn issue. This is, there are problems that need solving. I think I have solutions to them. So I'm going to put myself forward in the hope that my colleagues will give me the opportunity to solve them. And also, if I may say, with the greatest respect to Mr. Ajulo, I think given the trajectory of the profession in the recent past, having been an intimate part of that leadership is not necessarily something that one should, you know, be unduly proud of. Because if we were happy with where we were, we wouldn't be clamoring for change. But I don't think that, you know, I don't think that most Nigerian lawyers are happy with what they've seen happen with the profession over the last, so many years. So I think there's a need for change. I think there's a need for fresh thinking. So I'm not even sure that, you know, being part of the furniture, I've been in the NBA, I was there in 2002, I was there in 2004, I was there in 2006. If you have been there all that time and things have gotten progressively worse, then maybe you should allow somebody who hasn't actually been there in all those positions to come in and try and do things slightly differently.
Have you taken time to study the politics of the Bar Association?
Yes, I have.
And
yes, I have.
What was the outcome of your analysis?
Exactly what I've just said. Exactly what I've just said. I think that the Bar Association is yearning for a different type of leadership. I think the Bar Association...
I'm talking about the journey towards getting what you desire right now. You know, in every political situation, there is a process, a procedure. So have you taken time to study it well, and you think you stand a very good chance this time?
Well, you say this time. I haven't tried before, so it's not just this time.
You are trying it now, you know.
Yeah, well, of course, Bob G, I think I stand a good chance, just like you thought you did when you ran for president. You hadn't done it before. And, you know, as they say, if you don't buy the ticket, you can't win the lottery. So, for me, as I also say, it's not... I'm not doing it because I think I stand a good chance. And I'm glad you raised that, because I saw I was going to take you up on that. You've teed it up nicely, Bobby. Your flyer for this event. You said you saw me in December, and I told you that I was going to be the next president of the NBA. I didn't say that. How would I know?
Yeah, that you were confident that you. I asked you. You said you would do very well, and which is nothing negative.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, it will be interpreted as overconfidence. No, but yeah. So I of course, I think I stand a chance.
About it when we didn't speak about it again, I thought you had forgotten about it. So I was very impressed. That very much.
No, not at all. I mean, given the fact that I'm not a repeat performer, I do think that I've done reasonably well. And my attitude to this, I'm not desperate about being NBA president, because just like I said to you, it's not about personal ambition. For me, it's about service. And so if I put myself forward to serve, if my colleagues give me the opportunity to serve, I will do so to the best of my ability. If my colleagues feel that, you know, they would rather somebody else serve, so be it. I will give that person full support. Because at the end of the day, what is most important to me is, moving our profession forward from where it is at the moment. Because it is not in a good place.
Yes. Okay. So the usual thing is to let us examine. Let's look at your manifesto. I saw what you sent to me, but for the benefit of our viewers, could you tell us your plan? You must have a roadmap.
Oh yeah, definitely. So developing my manifesto, the first thing I did was to revisit our constitution, the NBA constitution. And the NBA constitution lists about 14 objects of the NBA. And I think the welfare of lawyers was maybe number 12, either 12 or 13. And I came to the conclusion that, well, perhaps, because, just the reason why I say that, I think that the welfare of the legal professional is one of the most critical problems confronting the profession now. And is one of the flagship things that I want to address. But in setting out my manifesto, maybe I should start from this. I highlighted and identified the fact that anybody who wants to lead the profession now must have it at the back of his or her mind that there's a need to unite the profession. I think the profession is extremely divided. I think those divisions there's so many of them. You have divisions between the bar and the bench. You have divisions between some of them you and I have already discussed, between the solicitors and litigators. You have divisions between those who are in-house counsel, who work in corporate organizations, and those of us in practice, whether as solicitors or litigators. You have divisions between those of our colleagues who work in government, law officers, either in ministries or in parastatals or MDAs. You have divisions along ethnic lines, you have divisions along religious lines, and then perhaps most importantly, you have divisions between young lawyers and senior lawyers, and then between the inner bar and the outer bar. All these divisions, as far as I'm concerned, weaken the profession. And I think that we haven't done enough over time to close those gaps so that we're much stronger. So and I stated this in my manifesto, that, I think that a priority for me is making a conscious effort to unite the profession. And I say that realizing that it's easy to say and very difficult to achieve. But I think you have a chance of achieving it if you realize that it is a necessity. You have no chance of achieving it if you don't even consider it to be an issue, or if you yourself, either in your utterances or in the way you conduct yourself, you are further deepening divisions that exist within the profession. I think that anybody who wants to lead the profession must be trying to unite it, not trying to divide it even further. So that for me is an underlying objective, which I've stated in my manifesto. But then realizing that, the tenure of an NBA president is just 2 years.
Yes.
There's no way I can tick off all the 14 objects and attain any success, any remarkable level of success if I try to do everything. So I've identified three areas that I would like to focus on if by God's grace I'm elected president. One, like I said, is the welfare of the legal professional. The second is justice sector reform. And the third is improving or overhauling our self-regulation and disciplinary structures. So taking welfare first, I think our profession is significantly challenged today because we're producing so many lawyers. And the legal professional right across board is struggling. You know, it's a question of degree. You know, obviously, you know, there are different ends, there are different spectrum of the profession. But no matter what end of the spectrum you're at, I don't think there's any lawyer in Nigeria today who will not tell you that it's a lot tougher now to make a success of legal practice than it was 15, 20 years ago, and it's getting progressively tougher. And it's having a significant impact on the perception of the profession. When I qualified 31 years ago, you were almost guaranteed that as a lawyer, you'd be, you might not be wealthy, but you'd be comfortable. You know, you'd be able to put food on the table, be able to buy a car, even if it's a Beetle. You know, you'll be able to pay your rent, meet your obligations. But the majority, a lot of our colleagues now are not able to meet those basic needs. And I always say this to our younger colleagues. They seem to think that the welfare problem in the profession is peculiar to them, and they have a legitimate concern about the inadequacy of the remuneration that they earn. But whilst I acknowledge that that is a significant problem, I think that we must address that problem whilst also addressing the problem of the income generating capacity of the people who should be paying this remuneration. You know, because if young lawyers complain about, poor remuneration, and we focus on that without focusing on the fact that lawyers who should be paying this remuneration, to the extent that we're talking about young lawyers in law firms, because I also think that we should, one of the things we need to do to address this problem is to increasingly diversify and make sure that the focus is not just on working in law firms. But to the extent we're talking about law firms, if we don't also focus on the income generating capacity of those in practice who should be paying this remuneration, then we're just dealing with, there'll be an imbalance. We're dealing with one aspect of the problem and ignoring the other. So for me, welfare of the legal professional is critical. I think we need to take concrete and decisive steps to address that, to make this profession a profession that is better able to reward those that practice it. And I state to some degree of detail in my manifesto some of the things that I think that we need to do. One of them, which I think is the most important, is that we need to establish a scale of fees for as wide a range of legal work as possible. Because right now, what we have in the marketplace, which is a result of the increased number of lawyers, is that there is an unhealthy competition for legal work. And all lawyers are continuously doing more for less. Every time a lawyer presents a bill or says to a client, these are my fees or these are my charges, I think we all get it. I don't think there's any lawyer practicing in Nigeria who hasn't got it. Why? I know about 5 of your colleagues who can do it for half of what you're asking. And I'll probably go to the 5. I'll probably go to the 5 and tell those 5 that, no people can do it for half and for half and for half. So, the profession is becoming non-remunerative for those who practice it. Now, obviously, we have to strike a balance. Some would say that, I was on a program the other day and I was being asked that, do I think that the legal profession should be concerned that people cannot afford legal services and that lawyers should be prepared to work for meager fees.
Or for charity.
Yeah, and I told the gentleman, and he told me, he said I was very direct, and I said I have no apologies about that. I said, look, there's scope for legal aid if if you do have proper means testing in place. Of course, we must provide for those who require legal services who can't afford it. But you can't tell me that I should, be providing legal services to a commercial organization that in itself is going to use my legal services to make money,
Make
and I
money.
should be charging meager fees. How do you justify that? So I think that one of the things that we must do as a matter of priority is to standardize the fees for legal work. Now, I think that in itself is not an easy process. I think it's going to require a significant degree of consultation. But then the law that regulates our profession already anticipates this and makes provision for this. It's just that we have not done it over the years. The Legal Practitioners Act provides for the establishment of a legal practitioners remuneration committee. That committee is chaired by the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Attorneys General of the states are members. The President of the NBA is a member, as well as a certain number of other legal practitioners. That committee last met, as far as I'm aware, when Prince Bola Ajibola was the Attorney General. Because the only scale that we have of fees in the country, in our profession now, is a scale of fees for land matters, which was enacted in 1991. So really, the tools are there for us to improve and standardize the ability of lawyers to charge. And, as I said also, the areas that I've identified are all connected. I also spoke about discipline. Now, because you could ask me, well, okay, so you're going to put a scale in place. What use is a scale of fees going to be if you're not able to ensure that lawyers charge according to the scale and don't continue undercutting each other, which is where discipline comes in. Because even the existing scale we have says in black and white that charging below this scale, this is in relation to land matters now, that charging below this prescribed scale is misconduct and is a matter that ought to be referred to the disciplinary committee. But I don't know of one single case, one single instance in which a Nigerian lawyer has been hauled up before the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee for charging below that scale. So we have not shown the ability to discipline ourselves, even when it comes to provisions of the law that are for our own benefit. So these are some of the things that I think that, we can address very, very quickly. And even without the statistics, I think that even if we didn't put fresh scales in place, if we were just to enforce the scale of fees in relation to remuneration for land matters, if we were to enforce it according to its letter, it would increase the earning capacity of the Nigerian lawyer by upwards of 25 to 30%, if we were just able to enforce. So for me, that is something that needs to be done. Of course, in my manifesto, I address a lot of other issues, welfare issues, but for me, this is a flagship one, because I think that if in my 2-year tenure, I'm able to put scales of fees in place, standardize fees for legal work, and these are minimum fees, because the idea is that we set it at a level that can cater for the lowest rung of the profession. Of course, if you're a senior advocate or if you are a magic circle firm, you will charge a lot higher, and the clients who would come to you would expect to pay a premium. But at least let's set a scale of fees that will take care of those who are at the bottom of the profession, so that they can make a reasonable living. I think that every time you see a lawyer on the streets, looking, like somebody who needs welfare, it reflects badly on the entire profession. So there's no point being a big fish, in a small pond. I think we need to try to get to the point where everybody in the profession is reasonably comfortable. And then, if you are blessed and you have 2 private jets, that's great. But let's make sure that at least, everybody can put food and feed their families, etc. So that for me is priority. Like I said, I address a lot of other welfare issues, training for young lawyers, continuous professional development, sexual harassment, better use of technology, looking after our women better, and a variety of other issues. But I won't go into those. Now, justice sector reform, which is my second thematic area, and which, as I said, I think is connected to welfare and also to discipline. My thinking really is that, first, also without statistics, there's no doubt in my mind that the majority of Nigerian lawyers are litigators, which means that the majority of lawyers, practice their profession in the courts. Our courts are not working properly. Some will say that they're not working at all. So if you're a lawyer and you're a litigator and you take a case, and no matter what end of the spectrum you're in, there's a time value to money. So if you charge your client a certain amount, but then that case drags on for 8, 9, 10 years, you've lost the value of that money. Except, of course, if you charge, which is a counterintuitive argument, that for those of our colleagues who charge appearance fees, who charge pay as you go, maybe it's in their interest to drag it out for as long as possible. But really, even for that, I think that it's not a sound argument, because the more cases you can do within a shorter period, the higher your turnover, the more money you're making, in my view. So I think that there's a welfare element to fixing our justice sector. Then, of course, there's a social responsibility element, because apart from the benefits to lawyers of having a justice sector that is efficient, that works, there's also the fact that we are meant to provide a service to society. Having a justice sector that works is not just fun and games. It's so that people don't take the law into their own hands and resort to self-help, which we're seeing a lot of these days, because people are not happy with the justice sector, or people would rather go to the EFCC or to the police than go to a lawyer and go to court. As a matter of fact, you find that lawyers themselves are the ones who, rather than go to court, would tell their client that you're better, let's go and see the DPO. So we need to fix our court system. And that, for me, is priority. As I said, in the course of our business luncheons that we've been hosting since 2008, we've focused a significant amount of energy on that aspect of the problem. And I have, again, significant, in my manifesto, I've set out in some detail what I think the issues are. The problem is easy to identify. The solutions are not so easy to procure. But I know what the problems are. Our judiciary is under-resourced. There's no doubt about that. We don't have enough judges. The funding that goes to the judiciary as a percentage of our national and state budgets is grossly inadequate. The judiciary itself is not being properly managed. Sorry, I will keep referring to our business luncheons because, as I said, it's really part of what drives me, this passion to fix these problems. In one of our business luncheons, we spoke about the need to separate the administration of the courts from the administration of justice. That, I think, is one of the core problems of our justice sector, apart from issues of inadequate resourcing, because I don't think that the judges are trained or have the capacity for the administration of the courts. Their training really is primarily to administer justice, to deliver judgments, to take evidence, listen to witnesses, etc. But to manage the courts, to make sure that the courts are working efficiently, requires managerial skills that judges do not necessarily have. So these are some of the things that I think that we, the NBA should engage in and try and convince our brothers, because at the end of the day, judges are lawyers. They weren't called to the bench. They were called to the bar when they chose to go to the bench. So they're still our colleagues. They're just another side of the profession. To convince them through moral suasion, through engagement, through argument, that they need to yield this space, because it is in our joint interest to have an efficient and properly functioning justice sector, that they should yield this space and let's get proper managers in. And a fundamental question actually also is that, I talked about the judiciary being under-resourced. Because of this lack of skill sets, in my view, even the budgeting for the judiciary is not done in a way that addresses the needs of the judiciary. Because again, I'm not sure that, with greatest respect, that the judiciary has necessary skill sets to budget properly, to plan properly for its needs going into the future. So this is a role that I think that the NBA must step in to play. And then, of course, we need to get our judges to work because, whilst one acknowledges the fact that they're under-resourced and probably overworked, if you have a backlog of work because there are not enough of you, then not doing the work doesn't solve that problem. It just increases the backlog. The truth is, today you go to our courts, even before the pandemic, and half the time the courts are not sitting. And this, for me, is a significant problem. No matter how tough the job is, if you are not willing to do it, then don't take it. Because these days, judges actually, it's not that they get a tap on the shoulder and are invited. They apply to be judges. So my view is that if you've applied to be a judge, then you must do the job because it's being paid by taxpayers' money. The NBA must agitate for better conditions of service for our judicial officers, but I believe that the NBA must also insist that our judicial officers actually deliver on the promise and on the job that they're being paid for. So these are the issues, I think, as far as the justice sector is concerned. And then, of course, there are issues concerning how we practice, which are the issues that concern the bar. The way we practice and some of the dilatory tactics that we engage in. The fact that a lot of lawyers specialize in filibustering and making sure that cases never actually get heard. I think these are issues that we need to deal with. I think there's a need for significant reorientation, and I think we need to start telling ourselves some home truths. I think we need to focus more on delivering substantive rather than technical justice. And this dovetails nicely into the third thematic area, which is discipline, because I think that there's significance in discipline, both bar and bench. And I think that if we were to take the issue of discipline a lot more seriously, we would deliver a better result in the justice sector. So, I gave the example of you go to court 10 times and 5, 6, 7 times the court is not sitting. For me, that is a disciplinary issue. I don't see why a judge who's being paid to do a job should just choose not to do it. You don't get any reason. You go to court and you're sitting there till about 12, and then all of a sudden you are told that my Lord has said that everybody should take a date. You take a date and go home. I have a significant problem with that, and I think that we need to call out our judges and say that this is not acceptable. You can't do this. And then discipline for the bar itself. One of the challenges that we are facing in the profession now is a significant loss of respect. That loss of respect has in my view, two sides. The first, which relates to the welfare issue, is that lawyers are doing so badly, and there's no dignity in poverty. You lose the respect of society if you are seen to be a member of a profession that is not able to remunerate its members. So that is one cause of the loss of respect. But I think another significant cause of the loss of respect is the perception that we as lawyers are not able to regulate ourselves properly. There are too many lawyers behaving badly and getting away with it because our process of self-discipline is not working. You hear so many horror stories, lawyers making away with clients' money, lawyers doing all sorts of nefarious things. And when clients complain, our disciplinary system is so inefficient in dealing with it. Like I said, I have the privilege of chairing one of the disciplinary panels for Lagos. And the kind of allegations that have been made against lawyers, it's mind-boggling. And the length of time that it has taken for those complaints to get to the panel And this panel is just an intermediate stage in the disciplinary process. It's only after this panel has made a finding as to whether a prima facie case is made out that the cases now get referred back to the NBA and now go to the legal practitioners disciplinary committee. So the entire process is much too long. And I feel that society, if it has that perception that we're not able to regulate and discipline ourselves properly, loses respect for us. So I think it's important that we also improve on our disciplinary processes. I think we need to invest more resources in it so that it will work a lot more efficiently. So those are the areas that I intend to focus on in my 2-year term. Like I said, it's not everything, and it's not to say that any of the objects of the NBA Constitution that I haven't touched on or that I haven't identified as a focus area. It's not to say that I will ignore them. But it's to say that I want to focus my energies on these 3, so that at least if I can deliver on these 3, I think that they would have significant multiplier effects on all the other aspects.
Wow, as you spoke, I thought you were talking about my profession. I think the media profession is far worse than yours in terms of what we get in return.
Right.
Now, let's say I'm covering a wedding and the celebrant, the bride or the groom will call Sonia Day, pay. Will call Astoria for food, pay. Will pay for drinks, will pay for MC. Would even get the Burna Boy or the video, pay for 15 minutes performance. And then I'm busy carrying cameras, showing how beautiful the wedding is. Then it's Dele is my pay. And your party must pay salaries at the end of the month. Your party must. So it's almost a similar thing. I think we don't value things of value in Nigeria. I think that's the problem. Because without the lawyers, you are likely to run into difficulties, But listening to all this, my question is, a lot of people make promises when they are going into politics. What do you think is responsible that they are not able to deliver when they get power eventually?
I don't want to be unfair to others because they said even the devil doesn't know what is in the heart of man. But my guess is that a lot of people will make promises in order to get into office that they never had an intention of keeping. Yes. So, it's one thing to make a promise because you want to tell people what you think they want to hear in order to get into the office. Of course, if that is the case, then the chances of you fulfilling those promises are next to nil because the promise was just a means to an end. So I think that in a significant number of cases, that is probably what happens. And that's why people have a large dose of disdain for politicians. And that is why I suppose I was quick to say that I'm not a politician. I'm not, none of the things that I've said I will do, none of them is a promise. These are practical things that I will do. Now, let me qualify that because I think your question actually raises a significant point. These are practical things that I will try to do because the NBA is not just about one person. The president is just one of many officers of the NBA. The president has the responsibility to lead. The president has the responsibility to show leadership and to carry everybody else along in the direction of travel that he seeks. But then it requires for everybody to cooperate. And I've said that to those who support me. I've said that to all those who support me, that getting into office is just one part of the support I need. The greater support I need actually is that if I do get into office, I need your support to succeed. Because we all need to realize that there are changes that need to be made. And those changes are not, I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a magic wand that's suddenly going to make lawyers, change their orientation. I don't have a magic wand that's going to stop us from undercutting each other. I don't have a magic wand that's going to make us behave better, to improve our public image. So everybody needs to be willing to do their own bit. All I can promise is that I will provide the leadership, I will provide the direction, and I will most importantly, I will set the example. Because it is very difficult for you to tell people, oh, do the right thing, when you yourself are not setting the example by walking the talk. Talk is cheap. So that is my approach.
Well, let's say the question I always like to ask, because of my own experience in politics, is that I hear even at the level of the Nigeria Bar Association, there is also the element of godfatherism. So do you have some of the godfathers backing you?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm made proud to say that what distinguishes me, and I'm pained that my brother Kayode Ajulo did not note that in his write-up that you referred to earlier, that of the three candidates, I'm the only one that doesn't have a godfather. But I I'm always quick to say that even though I don't have a godfather, I have God the Father, which I think is even more important than having a godfather.
Well, I believe your reputation speaks well for you. And I'd like, I said when we met last December, we sat together at a church event, and you told me about your dreams and aspirations for the bar. And I'm happy that do is what I've done now, is to give some exposure and to back it up with prayer. God help you on this journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bob D. I'm
In
very
case else you want to tell, I can see a lot of your friends online already. They are commenting.
Well, it's just to thank each and every one of my friends, my supporters, who share my passion, and who believe in me. And I think they believe in me because, as I said, I think they want something a bit different, and they trust me that I'm not telling them what I think they want to hear, that I believe every word of what I say, and God helping me, if by God's grace I succeed with the aspiration, I pray that I will be able to deliver and even over deliver on the promises that I've made.
God bless you, my brother.
Thanks, Thanks, Bobby. Thanks.
We love you forever.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a million.
Have a good
night.
God bless you. Thank you so much for staying this late. I'm surprised that we still have so many people online at this time of the night, and we will keep you posted about how things progress. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajibade. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. We like to play music. We've been working all day. Yeah, you have something to play? Let's. Wow, what a night. Having Mr. Dele Sage and Dr. Babatunde Ajibade SAN, same evening. I mean, that's...
First night you said you, I cannot wait to see you. You are the treasure I've been waiting for. Do you know how much I really need you. I dey pray for the day when I can finally kiss you. You know, say every day I dey pray for you. Oh, in my heart there's a permanent place for you. That's why my heart is a beat like you. Cause now you are true, so I am telling you. I sing for you, wanna be like you. Baby, now you are go big, oh, I am telling you. But
Thank you.
see, I may not give the world to you, but I'll give you what I have. Oh, baby, oh, you are my angel, oh. Could you live, baby, oh. Surely you know, say every day I dey pray for you. Oh, in my heart, oh, there's a permanent place for you. That's why my heart is a beat like you. Cause now you are true, so I am telling you. I sing for you, wanna be like you. Baby, now you are go big, oh, I am telling you. Only for you in a delight, and you can, oh. I sing for you, my baby, oh, oh. Do do oh, oh, oh. I am friendly, oh, you friendly, Can you see me now?
Good night, everybody. We're uploading the tape so you can watch Dr. Ajibade tonight, tomorrow morning, and every day. Yes, I think he said so much. Good night.